En debate, Senator Galvez.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Chers collègues, je prends la parole aujourd'hui pour parler sur le projet de loi C-226, loi concernant l'élaboration d'une stratégie nationale visant à évaluer et prévenir le racisme environnemental, ainsi que s'attaquer et à faire progresser la justice environnementale, parrainée par la sénatrice McCallum. L'objectif du projet de loi est d'élaborer une stratégie nationale visant à promouvoir les initiatives dans l'ensemble du Canada pour s'attaquer aux préjudices causés par le racisme environnemental. Il s'agit d'un problème important qui touche les communautés marginalisées, en particulier les peuples autochtones, les communautés noires et racisées et les communautés à faible revenu. Ce projet de loi est une étape nécessaire pour s'attaquer à ces problèmes et garantir à tous et toutes les Canadiennes l'accès à des environnements propres et sûrs. Environmental racism has a long and painful history in Canada. For decades, certain communities have been disproportionately impacted by environmental hazards, such as pollution, toxic waste, and other environmental hazards. These communities are often marginalized and lack political and economical power to protect themselves from environmental harm. I want to start by saying that my prayers and thoughts are with the Athabasca Chippewa community. This year is particularly hard on them. We must show solidarity and do more to stop what evidence shows is a flagrant case of environmental racism. On June 2nd, Chief Alan Adam urged evacuation of more than 1,000 people as wildfires rage in northern Alberta. Just months after he had received reports regarding a leak of toxic wastewater at Imperial's Carroll's oil sands mine, affecting his community's land and water. For the last 10 months, 4 tailing ponds at the facility had been leaking toxic sludge into the surrounding environment. The Alberta Energy Regulator and Imperial Oil failed to inform Indigenous communities downstream despite regularly discussing the disaster behind closed doors. It took another incident, which released an additional 5.3 million liters in late February, for the communities and the public to be notified. The impacts of industrial development on Indigenous lands and waters have been devastating, causing harm to people, to animals, wildlife, and the environment. Another example of this is the Gracie Narrows First Nation in Ontario, which has been dealing with the effects of mercury poisoning from industrial activity for more than 50 years. The impacts of this pollution are still being felt today. 90% of the population in Gracie Narrows have neurological problems such as numbness in fingers and toes, or seizures and cognitive delays caused by mercury that entered the food chain decades ago. Environmental racism is not limited to Indigenous communities. Racialized communities in urban areas across Canada also face disproportionate exposure to pollution, hazardous waste, and many other environmental hazards. Dr. Ingrid Waldron, one of Canada's leading experts on environmental justice, has documented at length cases of environmental racism in Canada. Her book, called There is Something in the Water, which was later adapted as a documentary, exposes the dire conditions of the Black community outside of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, due to well water contamination, and illustrates how colonialism has led to systemic environmental racism. The Black community of Africville, Nova Scotia, for example, was greatly underserved by the city of Halifax and was a dumping ground for many undesirable and dangerous developments that threatened the health of the community. It was later demolished in the 60s without meaningful consultation to make way for industrial development, expropriating all residents from their tight-knit community. This is not how we should treat our fellow Canadians, and yet this kind of problem persists today. Indeed, Scientists and indigenous people agree and highlight the inability of typical environmental laws to really protect the environment. In their view, this inability is because the line drawn by environmental law is so far removed from the line drawn by the laws of the nature and the planet that the phenomenon of global environmental degradation endanger all forms of life on Earth have not been stopped nor prevented, thus greatly penalizing already vulnerable populations. Instead of designing, implementing, and enforcing laws that protect people, we have been relying on companies that cause pollution to set their own rules for pollution prevention. This system based in a conflict of interest with companies that prioritize cost minimization over pollution prevention. Colleagues, we all know that toxic tailing ponds in Canada are a ticking time bomb. This should be more evident now after what we hear, the wildfires in northern Alberta closing thousands of gas wells. These ponds are massive reservoirs of toxic waste that leak into groundwater and release toxins into the air, leading to high rates of cancers and respiratory diseases among indigenous communities who live downstream. The failure to manage these ponds has led to catastrophic environmental damage, which can take centuries to clean up. To address this issue, we need to move away from the current approach of asking polluters to set rules for pollution prevention, and instead implement scientifically rigorous plans for the cleanup of tailing ponds. Companies must be held financially responsible for the cost of cleanup, rather than passing them on to taxpayers and future generations. In short term, we need to work in partnership with indigenous governments to ensure they are never again kept in the dark about environmental disasters that threaten their communities. Indigenous people have a deep connection to the land, and their knowledge and expertise must be taken seriously in environmental decision-making. Environmental racism is the result of systemic discrimination, lack of community representation at the decision table, an absence of meaningful community engagement in decision-making process. These factors have contributed to a situation where certain communities are more likely to live near pollution sources and face higher rates of exposure to environmental hazards. To address environmental racism in a meaningful way, we need a comprehensive strategy at the national level that recognizes the unique experience of different communities and provides a framework for action. It is time for Canada, its provinces, territories, and regulators to act and design, implement, and enforce laws that really protect people and the environment. Bill C-226 proposes such a comprehensive strategy. This strategy must be developed with meaningful community consultation, must address various aspects of environmental racism, such as identifying the link between race and socioeconomic status and environmental risk, mapping areas with high levels of pollution, improving access to environmental information, and looking for feasible solutions. One key aspect of the bill is the recognition of indigenous people's rights and perspective in the development of the strategy. This recognition is critical in acknowledging and addressing the historical and ongoing impacts on environmental racism on indigenous communities. This bill is a necessary step towards addressing environmental racism in Canada by establishing a comprehensive strategy and ensuring meaningful community engagement. We can work towards a more equitable and sustainable future for all Canadians. The passage of Bill C-226 would have several important benefits for all Canadians. First and foremost, it will lead to an improvement in the health outcomes for marginalized communities that have historically been impacted by environmental racism. By identifying areas with high levels of pollution and other environmental hazards, we can take action to reduce exposure and mitigate the impacts of these hazards. Additionally, the establishment of a national strategy will create opportunities for accountability for polluters and ensure that there is oversight of environmental policies and regulations. This will help prevent future instances of environmental racism. The bill also aligns with Canada's commitment to human rights, environmental sustainability, and, of course, reconciliation with Indigenous people. By doing so, in the development of the strategy, we can work towards a more just and equitable society. In conclusion, le projet de loi C-226 offre une occasion unique et importante de mieux éclairer notre prise de décision en matière de justice environnementale au Canada. En adoptant ce projet de loi, nous ferons un pas important vers la création d'une société plus juste et plus durable pour tous les Canadiens, y compris les générations futures, indépendamment de leur race ou de leur statut socio-économique. Donc, chers collègues, je vous encourage à appuyer ce projet de loi et à le renvoyer en comité dès que possible. Merci, thank you.